Today's broadcast is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in today. Really do appreciate it. I know we're getting a little bit of an early start. Wanted to jump on here before the Braves take on the Mets later on tonight at 7:10 p.m. The Braves are looking for the sweep over the New York Mets, so of course that's going to be a lot of excitement later on today. But right now what we're going to do is recap the past couple of series. Since we last saw each other, of course the Braves had been swept by the Dodgers. Since then, they have swept the Boston Red Sox, and they're now looking to sweep the New York Mets. But before we get into all that, we want to thank you for being here today. Really do appreciate those of you that are tuning in on the live broadcast. If you're watching this back, we appreciate you just the same. If you would, though, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck, and of course, with your Atlanta Braves. And as always, we are thankful to have Glenn Smith Chevrolet sponsoring the broadcast. And if you would like to donate to the broadcast, you can do so with a super chat. If you do that at the end of the broadcast, when we go through your comments, we will put you at the front of the line. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the series with the Boston Red Sox, because you got to think the series versus the Dodgers that saw the Braves get swept was a huge wake-up call to the entire team, the front office, everybody. It was a big wake-up call as to where the Braves stand, because right now, if the playoffs started today, I don't think any of us would feel great about it, especially a week ago. Since then, in Game 1 on the Red Sox, the Ronaldo Lopez pitched well, 5 1/3 innings pitched. He gave up 6 hits. He did give up 2 runs, one of those being earned, but the bullpen was phenomenal. Aaron Bummer, Jesse Chavez, Joe Jimenez, and Raisel Iglesias all scoreless in that affair. Kelenic got his first homer of the season in that first game against the Red Sox. And, of course, 2 runs were brought in by Ozuna and Arcia after that. So, good win, good bounce-back win there in Game 1 over the Red Sox. Of course, this series was only a 2-game series. In the second game, Chris Sale looked phenomenal. 6 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts. The bullpen didn't have a ton of work to do, but they were still scoreless as well. Dylan Lee and Ray Kerr making his season debut there. I thought that was a pretty good sign to see Ray Kerr. We talked about him prior to the season when we landed him through free agency. He looked good. The tell on him was that he throws gas. He has a problem with giving up the home run ball, but we did not see it in that first appearance. Kelenic also, we got to talk about this, made a great play at the wall. I don't know if you saw it, but we saw Chris Sale come out of it laughing. But no, what a great play that was. Kelenic starting to really be a part of this team. We're starting to see him really integrate himself into the Braves culture, into the Braves, just camaraderie. We're starting to see that. Chris Sale as well. But Marcell Ozuna, we got to talk about this, starts the game off in the first inning with a 3-run blast. Arcia would homer and Ozuna would homer yet again. So Marcell Ozuna, 2-homer day there in Game 2. That would take the lead in the majors once again. 12 for Marcell Ozuna so far. He is tied with Gunnar Henderson and Kyle Tucker as it stands right now. So 2 really good games there for the Braves against the Red Sox. I thought that was a great start. But then you got the series in New York against the Mets. This is where we stand right now. They again have a chance to sweep tonight. They've won the first 2. In Game 1, they took it 4-2. Charlie Morton pitched really well. 7 innings pitched, only 1 earned run. He got 7 strikeouts in that. The bullpen, A.J. Minter with 3 consecutive strikeouts. Raisel Iglesias, a little bit rocky, gave up a run, but all in all, a great game. They were able to beat the division rival. I know they're not the division rival anymore, but they are a division rival still. Always good to beat the Mets. Ronald Acuna, big third inning here. Ronald Acuna got it started with a homer, his 3rd of the year. Ozzie Albies would go back-to-back. Riley would walk, and Matt Olson would hit a 2-run homer. So 3 homers in the inning. That's how the Braves got their 4 runs, and that was the real turning point to me in the confidence of this offense, because really since maybe a month ago, really all season, there's been a concern about the offense. You could date it back to the beginning of the year. We just have not seen what we saw in 2023, and that's something we've talked about on the channel quite a bit, rightfully so. It deserves to be talked about. We just haven't seen it, and like I said, I really think that the Dodgers series was a wake-up call to the players. It was a wake-up call to the organization. And I think we've seen some results to that. And that third inning was a positive sign going forward. Again, Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, and Matt Olson all homering in that inning. And, that again led to the win, right? So in game 2 against the Mets, this is, of course, last night. What a night for Braves pitching. Almost a combined no-hitter. Whoever jinxed it, we're going to get you. The no-hitter went through 8 2/3. J.D. Martinez, of course, breaking it up with a home run on Raisel Iglesias. But Max Fried looked absolutely phenomenal. 7 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, no earned runs. The only reason he came out of the game was because his pitch count had gotten to 108. They weren't going to push it. A no-hitter's cool, but they weren't going to push it. Joe Jimenez came in, ran into a little bit of trouble, but was able to get through, and Raisel Iglesias down to the final out, just could not get it done, unfortunately. But Arcia would homer once again, his third on the year. That's a 2-run shot, and of course, a couple more runs were driven in. But it's a tough way to end a no-hitter bid. But all in all, I thought, the offense was there, and the pitching was certainly there, and the pitching has been really good so far this year. I mean, there's nothing to really complain about. We talked about the 5th starter idea and whether or not the Braves need to make an attempt at something in the by the trade deadline. But all in all, the pitching has really held this team up. Last year, the offense kind of held the pitching up. This year, it's the other way around. We've seen Charlie Morton be phenomenal. We've seen Chris Sale be phenomenal. And here lately, we're seeing Max Fried absolutely deal. Ronaldo Lopez shouldn't be overlooked in that conversation either. He's been solid. That 5th starter spot, though, still a little bit of concern. But all in all, this Braves team has been able to navigate through all the trouble, and they've been able to really perform well. Now, that all said, we're going to go to break here for a second. But before we do, if you would, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications if you have not already. It really helps us get out to more viewers, and we certainly appreciate it. So please do like the video, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Truckloads of fresh inventory are rolling into Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, like this powerful all-new GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, now available with up to $13,000 off. Purchase the roomy GMC Terrain SLT, discounted up to $97.50 off, and the GMC Acadia AT4 all-wheel drive, discounted up to $8,000 off. Enjoy no payments till the end of summer at Glenn Smith GMC. Over 350 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way.
Get ready to smile.
It's truck season at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. Check out the powerful full-size and fully loaded Chevrolet Silverado LTZ, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or the roomy midsize 3-row SUV Chevy Traverse, discounted up to $6,750 off. And the perfect size Chevy Equinox up to $8,500 off. No payments until the end of summer. Over 350 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. And again, thanks to Glenn Smith Chevrolet for being our presenting sponsor. Really do appreciate them as well. If you have not already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with your Atlanta Braves. We've talked about this before, but I really think this needs to be reiterated. I mentioned earlier that Marcell Ozuna is leading the league in homers, but he's doing more than that. And in my opinion, Marcell Ozuna should be extended. I think that conversation needs to be had. So far in 2024, he is leading Major League Baseball, of course, tied with Kyle Tucker and Gunnar Henderson with 12 homers. That's all of Major League Baseball, though. He is also leading Major League Baseball in RBIs with 38. He's got a .319 batting average. He's got 1,032 on base, OPS. He's been phenomenal. The other side of this is he has volunteered the information that he wants to be extended. He wants to be here long term. He does not want to go anywhere else. He told David O'Brien this a couple of weeks ago, and we've talked about it before, and I told you the fact that, look, should he be extended? Possibly, but the Braves also don't have to, and there's truth to that. They have a team option next year. They don't have to do anything. They could just pick up his team option and leave it alone. However, I think Marcell Ozuna, and you can say that I'm pulling the trigger too early on this, but I think Marcell Ozuna has earned the right to be extended here, because if he's willing to take, 2 years at $32 million, he's certainly earned that on the field this year and last year. Forget the other ups and downs of his contract. He has earned that at this point within those 2 years. And ultimately, I think Atlanta will re-sign him. I do. Because when you look at the minor league system where we are right now, there's not a lot of bats that stand out. There's certainly not a Marcell Ozuna level bat in the minors right now that stands out. Not as a DH in particular, for sure. I just don't think there's been anybody like Marcell within the organization. And you're certainly not going to find anybody of his caliber, what we've seen lately for sure, at his price range beyond 2025. I don't think. So, in my opinion, his on-field results have been undeniable. You cannot tell me that a 319 average, 1,032 OPS, MLB leading in homers and RBIs is not worth re-signing. Extending. I believe that the Braves will do it. It may be next year before they do it, but I certainly think they're going to do it. It may be that they want to see another year of Marcell Ozuna performing like this or something akin to this, but there's no denying that he has held up the offense for the majority of this season so far. That could change. There's a lot of ups and downs for the entire team throughout any given season. But it's pretty apparent to me that Marcell Ozuna has been the one guy who you can count on day in, day out to give you good at-bats, which, that wasn't always the case with Ozuna. But he's been the guy this year to give you good at-bats, to give you a homer when you need it, and to give you offensive production. And it's not just homers. He's hit doubles. He's been a guy who can give you hard hit balls any given at bat, and he's been a guy that the Braves can count on when needed. That said, though, ask yourself, who would you put into that DH spot come 2026 or even next year, 2025, within the Braves organization? I don't know of anyone. I don't know if you know of anyone, but I certainly don't. For me, the question becomes, why not lock up Ozuna while he wants to be here, while he's likely willing to take a little less money for some security and knowing that he will be here for the time being and for the future. And if you can get less money attached, even better. But for me, the Braves certainly don't have to, but looking ahead, it may be in their best interest. That all said, guys, thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We're going to go to one more break. When we get back, we are going to go through your comments. And I know we're here early. I expected a little bit lower of an audience. It's not exactly jarring, but we're only going to be here as long as the comments keep us here. So if you have something you want to talk about, please do put it in. Really would appreciate it. And we're, of course, going to be here long as we can with you guys, so please do get your comments in. When we get back, we go through them, and again, thank you for being here. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here, and of course, with your Atlanta Braves right here at On Deck.
Truckloads of fresh inventory are rolling into Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, like this powerful all-new GMC Sierra 1500 SLT. Now available with up to $13,000 off. Purchase the roomy GMC Terrain SLT, discounted up to $97.50 off. And the GMC Acadia AT4 all-wheel drive, discounted up to $8,000 off. Enjoy no payments till the end of summer at Glenn Smith GMC. Over 350 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way.
Get ready to smile.
It's truck season at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. Check out the powerful full-size and fully loaded Chevrolet Silverado LTZ, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or the roomy midsize 3-row SUV Chevy Traverse, discounted up to $6,750 off. And the perfect size Chevy Equinox up to $8,500 off. No payments until the end of summer. Over 350 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way.
Get ready to smile.
One more thing I want to talk about before we get into the comments tonight, and that is this. Of course, I have told you before that I thought the trade market would be a little bit more active than what we've seen so far in 2024. Of course, that all started now with Luis Arias being traded to San Diego from Miami. No one expected that. I certainly did not have that on my bingo card for 2024, but here we are. It has happened. And to me, I think it very well may open up the floodgates. The Marlins are certainly going to be sellers this year. They've established that with that trade for Luis Arias, but I think there's more to come. I think from Miami, you're going to see Jesus Luzardo move. You may see someone like an Anthony Bender move, but I think you're going to see more trades like that come from Miami. That all said, there's going to be more teams like that. I think the White Sox are there. I think Colorado is there. There's a lot of teams in the market right now that I think are going to be more proactive than usual. And this has been uncharacteristic of Major League Baseball in the past few years because the postseason has been expanded. More teams have to make it there with the full team behind them. And for me, because that postseason is expanded, I've always thought, well, it's going to be really hard to land a starting pitcher. It just is at the trade deadline. You almost have to do it in free agency or in the market in the offseason. But right now, we're in an interesting point because we find ourselves in a spot where the trade market does seem to be open and available because you have teams that are already so far out of their market range, right? The only team that I've been hesitant to say will be a seller that seems to be at a point where they will be is the Astros. We heard Dana Brown, he was he used to be the head of scouting for the Braves. Now he is the GM for the Marlins. And great pickup for the Astros. Great pickup for them, by the way. But now we find ourselves in a point where if the Astros get any further behind, they very well may be a seller. And if that's the case, you have a lot of talent on that team, healthy or not. You have a lot of talent that was in the World Series not that long ago that could be available. And it may be time for the Astros to rebuild. That's yet to be seen. But what we do know is that there are 3 teams right now that I think are in the market and could sell earlier or sooner rather than later, and that is the White Sox, the Marlins, and the Rockies. Now, things can change, but those are the teams to me that seem most likely. And a couple of those teams, or one of those teams we've traded with before. We've traded with the White Sox already, right? We've traded for Aaron Bummer. We have traded, I believe, Max Stassi for a player to be named later, who I'm excited to see who that's going to be. But I think that, there's going to be more. And we've seen the Braves be active. And I don't think anybody has talked about this enough, but we've seen Atlanta already start to make a couple of moves and maybe flirt with some teams about trading for bigger pieces, right? We traded Luis Guillorme to the Angels for a player to be named later. And you know what? For me, I think that is just starting a conversation, right? Of course, you got to think with Ron Washington being the manager of the Angels, there's got to be some working relationship with him and Alex Anthopoulos and, of course, the front office of Anaheim. But I would think that, if the Angels are smart, which historically they're not, for me, I would think they're going to be sellers at the deadline. I'd be surprised if they're not. But as we go on, more teams are going to fall out of this. And I did a video earlier this week, or maybe the end of last week. We talked about it last week in the stream for sure. But I did a video talking about Eric Fetty. That is the guy out of all the teams that are in the market who I think will be sellers. That's the guy to me that makes the most sense. And it's not so much the talent, but of course Fetty plays for the White Sox. If you're going to get anybody from the White Sox, you'd probably want Garrett Crochet because I think that's the best talent, at least in terms of the ceiling that he can get to. Garrett Crochet is your guy. But out of the guys who can help you right now and are veterans and are not on long-term contracts, Eric Fetty falls into that middle space where he's the perfect guy based on who's in the market right now. There's not a lot of teams in the market as of right now. But again, we traded Luis Guillorme to the Angels for a player to be named later. We traded Max Stassi to the Angels to the White Sox way back when for a player to be named later. So that's 2 players who we don't know who it'll be coming from both the Angels and the White Sox. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep in mind. We also traded for Zach Short. We paid cash for Zach Short. That is purely infield depth, in my opinion, because you're losing Luis Guillorme, who was your infield depth. I think that's just a glove. He's only got one hit this year through 16 at-bats. It's certainly not someone you're picking up to count on it for offense, but, you may need him, pending an injury or something like that. Tyler Matzik is on the injured list. You hate to see that. Left elbow inflammation. That's what Ray Kerr was brought up for. But Tyler Matzik has not looked like the Tyler Matzik of old so far this year. But, we find ourselves in a situation where I don't think the bullpen is as strong as what a lot of people thought it was going to be this year, including myself. I mean, Raisel Iglesias has not looked as good as what I had hoped. But, that said, we're at a point where the bullpen's got to improve. It very well may improve come the deadline, but I definitely think it needs to be. We're going to go ahead and jump into the comments, and really, again, do appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, or today, rather. And I know we're doing an early stream. I knew the audience was going to be a little bit lower, but I wanted to get here because the Braves, of course, do play late tonight. And for us, it's really the only time we can get on here is early on, as opposed to coming on here at 11 or midnight after the game. Now, if something magical happens tonight, if you see a walk-off homer or a no-hitter like we almost saw yesterday, I almost came on live last night. But if something like that were to happen, then yeah, we would probably come on. But this is the best time for us to really get on here and give you content that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do because the Braves are coming on in our time slot. So we'll probably do something similar to this. I believe next week they also play at 7:10. So you may see something like this next week too. You may see a late broadcast. But typically our Sunday broadcasts, which are our only live streams as of right now, are going to be in that 8 o'clock time frame on Sunday night. But for now, this is what we can do early in the day. And for those 19 of you that are out there that are watching, I appreciate it. Again, I know this is not our normal time slot. I appreciate you being here. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're celebrating Mother's Day with your mom, and credit to you. I already had my Mother's Day celebration. We went out to lunch with my mom. Happy Mother's Day if you are a mom out there watching. I really appreciate you tuning in. But no, again, we appreciate all of you being here, but I knew this was going to be a lower attended stream, so I know these are my most loyal followers that are watching right now, so really do appreciate that. But let's go ahead and talk about what you guys want to talk about. Rivers Teeth says, I don't know if the bats are back, but Max seemed PO about something. He's talking about Max Fried. And you know what? That's when he's at his best, right? If you throw it back to Game 6 in the World Series in 21, and he got his foot stepped on, that seemed to be when he clicked in. And maybe, those first couple appearances made him lock in. He realized it's a contract year and I got to be at my best. Maybe that's all it was. I don't know. But he certainly seems to be at his best right now. Just a reminder, if you would, please do like the video if you have not already. I really would appreciate that. It helps us get it out there to more followers. And, of course, if you have a friend out there, if you have, a group of friends that like the Atlanta Braves, let them know about the channel. Y'all could watch this together. And, of course, the more feedback we get, the more comments we get, the better these streams are going to be. And we're doing a lot here at On Deck to make this a better channel, to put money into it, to make this a bigger, better broadcast. And, of course, that does not happen without you. So, of course, we appreciate all of what you guys do. JT Rodriguez asks, what are your thoughts on Olsen and Riley's slump? That's a good question. I'm hoping that the third inning in Game 1 of the Mets series, I believe, I'm hoping that is a real turning point where we saw Acuna lead it off with a homer. And, we saw Ozzie and him go back-to-back. You saw Riley walk because he didn't get anything to hit, and then Olsen hit a 2-run homer. That's more akin to what we saw last year, and that's more along the lines of what I'm hoping we see throughout the end of the year. It's not going to happen every game, but you got to take advantage of what you're given, and they got given a guy who, was a young pitcher, I'm pretty sure it was his debut, and he got taken to town by the Atlanta Braves. That's kind of what happened. So for me, I think it was a nice change of pace in a good way, and I think now the pitching has been great. The offense has got to get better, and I hope that this Mets series is going to be a point where we turn back to and go, that's when it opened up right there. That's when the floodgates busted open and this offense clicked in. But it's been nice to know that even when the Braves offense isn't clicking, because it clicked all year last year, it never had an issue really. It's nice to know that even though we haven't been clicking, we're still only 2 games back in second place. The pitching has been phenomenal. And at some point when Acuna, Riley, Ozzy, and Olsen are here and are clicking, we're going to be great. And don't forget, you got Sean Murphy coming back too. Darno's been great in this stretch, but I think we can all agree that Chadwick Tromp has left a little to be desired offensively. He's done his job, but Sean Murphy's going to be a big step up. And I really think this offense is going to start clicking very soon. The other thing is, I mentioned this repetitively a couple of weeks ago. That stretch where you had the Guardians, the Mariners, and the Dodgers, I didn't expect for the offense to be on fire. The problem is they haven't been on fire in a lot of other instances either. And the reason I didn't expect it is because first place opponent who are playing their best ball, they got really good pitching. And unfortunately, the Dodgers really exposed it. The Mariners won the series, but it was competitive. The Dodgers one felt like we didn't have a chance in a lot of those games. And for me, that's the part where I get a little frustrated. And I think ultimately we're at a point now where you're going to face the Cubs at home after this. And for me, I think ultimately where you find yourself now, you're going to be in a stretch where the offense is going to be able to perform because you got the Cubs and then you do have the Padres who have good pitching. Then you have the Cubs again at their place, the Pirates, the Nationals, the A's, the Red Sox. I'm looking forward to this stretch where you have the Nationals, the A's, the Red Sox, the Nationals again, and then, of course, you have the Orioles. So there's going to be ups and downs. A lot of it has to do with scheduling. And that is what it is. Like when you play good teams, you're gonna have more of a struggle than when you play a team like Washington, right? Like it just is what it is. When we play the Marlins, we tend to play a little better because they're a lesser opponent. The problem is we know what the measuring stick is. I view it as the highest payroll in baseball with the Los Angeles Dodgers. We know that measuring stick, and if that's the measuring stick, the Braves are falling short of that. And those are the teams that you're going to play in the postseason, the Mariners, the Guardians, the Dodgers, right? And it may not be those names, but it'll be teams that are playing their best ball that are comparable to those teams, right? They're going to be similar to what we've seen in that stretch. Now, again, since then, you've had the Red Sox 2-game series. The Braves wiped them, even with Ronaldo on the mound. And then you've had 2 games against the Mets, who are the Mets this year, but you've been able to win. And if they can win again later today, then you'll have 2 back-to-back sweeps. And going into the Cubs series, that's going to be a nice feeling to have. So looking ahead, again, you got the Cubs coming up, followed by the Padres. But I think you're amidst a much better stretch where the offense has a chance to break out of any slumps. And I think the Mets series is going to help with that. Going today, you got Bryce Elder, who really needs a good game. He had a great first appearance against the Marlins, did not have a good appearance against the Dodgers, but he'll be going up against Luis Severino for the Mets, who's had a good year, 2.93 ERA, but he's hittable. There has not been a pitcher named for tomorrow, but I would imagine it would be, I believe it'll either be Sale or Morton, but we do know who will be pitching for the Cubs. It's Shota Imanaga, and Jameson Taillon is taking game 2. So forgive me if I mispronounced those two, but no, I think we find ourselves in a much better state for the offense. I still have questions surrounding the starting rotation. I am not completely confident in that 5th starter. That's why I've suggested the idea of Eric Fetty at the deadline. And there's other guys that are going to be out there at that point. I think the Cardinals are certainly a team that is going to find themselves out of it. I see Ron's asking about a Sonny trade, Sonny Gray. I like Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray's had a good year. He's pitching 2.29 ERA through, looks like 6 games. Yeah, so he's had a good year so far, and he's had a great career. I mean, we all know who Sonny Gray is, 3-time All-Star. The guy's consistent. He's going to give you a good season any given time. He'd be a great 5th starter if we could get him. He's coming off a year where he was 2nd in Cy Young Award votes. So, I mean, Would I like him? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't. Um, but that all said, it's kind of, the reason is he's signed to a longer term deal. He signed through 2026 with a team option in 27. Not a crazy rate, prorated, so it's prorated for like 25 a year. It's going to put you over the luxury tax if you're the Braves, but for me, would I think it's worth it? Sure. I don't know if we have enough to get it done because he's going to be the guy that I think a lot of teams go after, and rightfully so. They're going to want to get him out of there. But for the Cardinals are an interesting team because they don't like to admit defeat a lot. I don't even think they really traded away. They didn't trade away last year, and they were in a much worse boat than they are this year. So I don't know if they'll do it. They may, but they have talent. I mean, they have a lot of talent. If they start fire selling, you got Arenado, you got Goldschmidt, you got Sonny Gray, you have Contreras, although he's out right now due to an injury, a horrific injury also. But you have a lot of talent on that team that could find new homes, which would be interesting. I think there's more of a capitalization on that fire sale than there ever would be in Miami, for example, right? Miami's going to be your most prolific seller because at this point they've kind of given up. But St. Louis, I think that's a harder nut to crack on making them get to a point where they want to sell. And it'll be interesting to see if they do it. But for me, and if it was me, I would certainly do it. But we'll see. Let's see. JT Rodriguez asked, do you expect Acuna to be more productive in his homers? I think everybody did. I think everybody expected that going into this year. But, I mean, at this point, you can't be mad about it. You can't be, aggravated with him because he gives you so much elsewhere, right? He's still hitting the ball well for the most part. I mean, he's looked a little lost at the plate at times, but overall, he's still been a decent bat. He's also, anytime he's on base, he's stealing a bag. He makes things happen when nothing else is happening. I mean, it's did I expect more? Sure, coming off an MVP season. How could I not expect more? But at the same time, I find myself now realizing, well, it's not just him. I would honestly like to ask Kevin Seitzer a couple questions because, and not in any I think Kevin Seitzer isn't doing a good enough job. It's not that at all. I'd like to know what his thoughts are about it because that's the aspect we don't hear a lot. We'll hear Brian Snicker talk and just say, well, and we'll get some explanation. But I'd like to hear a deep analysis of what he thinks is going on with the Ronald Acuñas of the world and the Matt Olsons and Riley too, because the back end of the lineup has been great, right? And if they can feed the top and the top actually, feast on it, then I think you find yourself with just as good an offense as you've had before. But right now, it's just not the case. So for me, I expected more, and I still expect more, but it's going to be some time before I can let you know if okay, they've met my expectations. My expectations were never what they did last year, and I know that probably sounds weird to some of you. My expectations were never for what they did last year. My expectations were for what we've seen, something similar, but you can't expect to set the league record in homers, and you just can't expect that. I expected better than this. I will say that though. One Ron says, I still think that Acuña's timing is off, but he sold out on that pitch that he hit 460 something. He needs to trust himself and be violent on pitches in the zone. Go Braves. I agree, and to see him go 460, you got to think that's going to make him a little bit more confident. And, the other aspect of it is he was coming off of some knee, not injury, but knee issue. Maybe he's just, he's still getting over that. I don't know. We'll see. It was nice to see the Braves offense be there and perform, but I still think there's certainly room to grow. I don't think we're 100% back, regardless of what the title says. I am more of the opinion that the Braves have to continue what they're doing for me to think that, and it's going to be some time before I think we're fully confident in this offense. But this offense has the potential to break out at any point. It may be tonight. I don't know. It's. I will say that I think facing some. Take my words with a grain of salt. I think facing lesser competition has helped the Braves a little bit because they're able to do some things that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do. They're able to test some things, and maybe that'll help them break out. This offense, though, in my opinion, has got every chance to, break out at any given point. I think that will happen. But for now, I think we find ourselves at a point where it's do or die. And tonight against the Mets, I hope to see the offense pull out a win here because I like Bryce Elder. I don't know if he's going to be able to give you the type of performance that we saw last night. But I will say I would much rather see Bryce Elder against the Mets than against the Cubs. That's just me. Let's see. Speaking of which, Ron asks, how do you feel about Elder tonight? I'm a little weary on him, but I just hope the offense can cover the 3 or 4 runs he's going to give up. Your thoughts? I don't know. I mean, Elder, to me, it really depends who you're facing, right? Like, you say he's going to give up 3 or 4 runs, and I would feel better about that number. Like, if I was a betting man, I would feel better about that number if you're facing someone like the Dodgers or the Padres or, a team like the Guardians, the Mariners, folks like that, than I do about this. Because, yes, the Mets are good. They can certainly hurt you, but I don't think they're, if you're going to have Elder face anybody, I want him to face the Mets or the Marlins or the Nationals, a team he's familiar with, a team he can navigate against, and that's really where I stand on it. So for me, is he the first choice I'd have? No, but in this situation where you're about to head to face Chicago back at home, and in theory you start out with either Sale or Morton, I'll take my chances. I would imagine who pitched last for the Braves. I can't remember to save my life. I want to say it was Sale who will be pitching, but it was Sale because game 1. That's right. So for me, I'd much rather have Sale on the mound against Chicago and start that series off right than have Bryce Elder pitch against Chicago. And it's really just how the dominoes fall, right? It's not so much that they're planning to have so-and-so pitch this day. This is the rotation. It falls on his day. I know that. But for me, I'd much rather him face the Mets than face Chicago. So we'll see. But that's just my take on it as of right now. So Coolio says the bats are not back. The pitching is still carrying the team. All right, well, don't get triggered by the title. Let me explain. For me, the bats have hit a turning point. We've seen a bit of an uprise. I'm not saying that they're carrying the team, certainly not. But I do think that we've seen a little bit of a positive step forward, and I think that'll continue with the series in Chicago. I certainly think it'll continue tonight. And you got to think that in the hitters meeting that they know who's on the mound for the Braves. They know that they got to be at their best to pull out a win tonight. They always think that. They always are going to try to be at their best, but you got to think it's on their mind. We got to score some runs early to give Bryce Elder a little bit of security, right? And for me, I think that this series is going to be a turning point. Now, does that mean that they're going to be great in every game after this? No. Does that mean that they're going to set records? No. But I definitely think that we're going to see a much better performance out of the offense than what we saw in the Dodgers series, right? Because that was pitiful. I think we all agree there. And I still think pitching is certainly carrying the team, to your point. But I think that, again, we've hit a bit of a turning point to where we can appreciate the offense. And look, if you're going to knock them when they're down, you have to reward them when they're up. And let's be real, 3 homers in 1 inning, when was the last time we saw that out of this team? It's been a while. And specifically the fact that we saw it from Acuna, the fact that we saw it from Ozzy, and the fact that we saw it from Olsen, and really Riley too with the walk. I mean, it's a turning point. And for me, that's the part of the offense that I think needs the most right now. So I think that the bats are not back, but I certainly think they're on their way. And, it's a catchy title. That's why it's there. But for me, I think ultimately this team is going to see a turning point with this series. And, if you disagree, you disagree. It's just what I think. And certainly I think that part of the offense needs the most confidence, needs the most turning around in them. And I think if they're hot, this team is hot. And right now, that seems to be the case, right? Kelenic has been great. Duvall has been good. Marcell Ozuna has been absolutely phenomenal. This team's not going to be successful till we see Olsen, Riley, and Acuna and Ozzy really start hitting the ball well. So, I mean, that's my opinion. I certainly, again, I think pitching is the name of the game right now for the Braves. But if the offense can get with it, then I think we're going to see something special happen. Josh Gillum says, our Hawks win the draft lottery and will pick number 1. Yeah, that's huge. I actually got a text while we were streaming from a buddy of mine who says that Trey Young's going to get traded. So, yeah, it's huge for the Hawks. Anytime you get to pick number 1, it's huge. We'll see what happens with that. I don't have any prediction for you. I don't know who it will be. But, whoever it is going to have quite the expectation on them. Jeff Barry says, we can't expect everyone to be hitting every night. People got spoiled from our historic season last year. I agree, right? Like, and to be honest with you, I always thought last year, the entire season, it was like, all right, when is this going to fall out? When are we going to bottom out here? Because this has been absolutely insane, right? And you have those seasons occasionally, and a lot of teams have them, but it doesn't always happen to your team. And you have those team occasions where everything goes right. Like where the offense is just absolutely unstoppable. You have those seasons. And then you have other seasons where they're not. And you can blame that on postseason hangover. You can blame it on a lot of things. It's just, it is what it is. It's not, I don't think it falls on anybody's shoulders. But, time will tell, right? To me, the stats right now, I know Olsen's sitting around the Mendoza line, and that's not where we want him to be, but Chipper Jones talked about it the other day, and he was talking about, the fact that Olsen has such a long swing. He's going to have times where he's really up, and he's going to have times where he's really down, and they're going to be long stretches. So, maybe he's breaking out of that a little bit, and like I said a couple of weeks ago, it only takes one to break out of it, and he hit one the other night, so we'll see. One Ron says, remember the throw it again. Maybe we'll get another throw it again moment tonight. Who knows? The Mets, to me, they used to be the team where they were the team that was closest to, being the Braves a couple of years ago, and really they're not there anymore. It's almost kind of sad in a way because it was exciting. I love watching the Braves and Mets series in 2022, especially when we were on the path to catch them. You remember that? It was really exciting, and now it's like, all right, let's just try to get a sweep. It's just not, it doesn't have that same, feeling anymore, and I guess that's a good thing in a way, but for baseball, it was great. Now the Mets are just not what they used to be. But the Phillies they're the team to beat, and right now they're in first place. So the Braves are 2 games back. It's early. I'm not really worried about that, but you got to think at some point that they're going to get to a point where they don't like it and they're going to try to get first place again. So that's going to wrap it up here, though. I actually have to go to work here in a minute. So really appreciate those of you that did tune in today. If you're watching back on the replay, thank you for watching. But look, the Braves have a chance to sweep tonight if they're able to do it. Maybe they get a game back on the Phillies. But right now they sit 2 games back in second place behind Philadelphia. So as we sit now, the Braves have swept the Red Sox. They have 2 wins over the Mets so far. They look for the win number 3 tonight. Then they go on to face Chicago. We will, of course, be here again next Sunday. Time to be announced. But please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and keep up to date on the community page. That's where we announce every time we're going to go live. Sometimes it's in the middle of the week. Sometimes it's, usually it's every Sunday though, but sometimes it will be in the middle of the week occasionally. Again, want to thank Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika for being our presenting sponsor. They make things happen around here, but so do you. Your views, your likes, your subscriptions, your super chats, all of that plays into our success, and we really need you to do it. So if you have not already, again, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that we can keep doing this and keep doing it for free. Thank you again, guys. Really do appreciate it. And again, next Sunday, we will be here again probably the same time if I've looked at the schedule correctly. Maybe later, we'll see. But again, thank you guys for being here tonight. Really do appreciate you. And as always, we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.